you said your ex-wife, I mean, do you think some of the relationship issue was related to your illness and food? And I don't know what she was doing or stuff like that. I don't know if I mean, how's your relationship with people around you, family, friends, changed since you've gotten healthier yourself?
Well, in terms of my ex-wife and everything, I think that had, I think my illness caused a lot of issues in the relationship because I was always so sick all the time. And then it was hard too, because we would try to go on diets and everything, but, she might come home with A&W or something after I'm trying to diet. And I was just like a weak person with those things. And, but with all my friends and family, they notice I'm just like a lot more outgoing, a lot friendlier. They noticed just huge changes in me where I'm not the same kind of beaten down person as I was before. And I think it's really helped me in terms of like, I've gotten a lot of my friends and people I know to start eating more meats. And I think just me being where I am right now, it's like, I can help a lot more people than I could before, even though I'm like a little bit less, like I had like ruinous empathy before. And now I don't. And I feel like I can help a lot more people by almost being less empathetic. I know it sounds a little weird, but that's how I feel right now.
Instead of coddling people, you say, come on, get after it.
Yeah.
You mentioned your Alberta, you said it was kind of like the Texas of Canada. And Texas is our largest cattle producing state. We have 22 million head of cattle in Texas, if I'm not mistaken. What is the, in Edmonton, what is the climate like in Edmonton? Are people, I mean, I know in Canada, Canada's very much more maybe quote, unquote, progressive liberal or whatever than the U.S. is right now currently. I mean, I don't know. I know there's different individual pockets, maybe like, the Yukon, Manitoba, Alberta may be more conservative in their leaning. What's the mindset with regard to eating beef? Is it destroying the planet? That we hear a lot of that. I think it's nonsense, but what's the thought up there?
Well, Alberta's quite a conservative province. So, I mean, I know the government really wants to like support farmers and everything. It depends on where you're like. I'm in Edmonton, which I guess would be kind of like the Austin of Alberta. It's a lot more liberal here. Calgary's a lot more conservative for those things. But no, in general, I mean, you get those people everywhere that are like the really hardcore vegans and everything. But I think for the most part, people are pretty pro meats. And especially if you go into the rural areas of Alberta, I mean, where all the cattle farmers are and everything, like those people, you won't find a single vegan around there. It's just all straight meat eaters, farmers and meat eaters.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the people that adopt veganism have very little relationship with food production in general. They think food magically appears from a vending machine or the food comes from the store. We kind of hear that. Have you had much negativity with your dietary choice now? Is anybody saying, "Hey, you're destroying the planet? How you're evil? You're selfish for this type of stuff"?
No, I've definitely gotten some of that. For the most part, like my parents are pretty receptive. And my dad's been doing like the low carb thing for a while. My mom eats pretty well. At first my mom was kind of like appalled that I was just eating meat, but I would just, explain to her evolutionary why it's important and just, give her evidence, suggest it. So she's really good with that now. A lot of people, I find the people that's really come down on me the most are people that are already very unhealthy in the first place. I mean, I'll be, it's like, oh, all my issues are gone. I'm happy now. I no longer want to kill myself. I have like motivation for life. And people be like, what are you doing? And I'll say, oh, I'm just eating meats. And they say, oh, that's not healthy. That doesn't sound healthy at all. But I'm like, before, when I was suicidal and hated my life and was overweight and I was eating garbage all day, you were just like, no, that's completely fine. There's nothing wrong with your diet. But as soon as I want to start eating meat, everyone has a problem with it, which I find is pretty interesting. It doesn't really bother me that much. I just think it's kind of funny because usually the people that say that to me are quite overweight or on a whole bunch of medications or just aren't doing very well in life. I think some people just don't like to see other people do well with, especially with things that are outside of like the conventional norms.
Yeah. So I'm guessing, your age, you're probably approaching 30-ish or something in there?
Yeah, I'm 30 years old. I turned 30 in October.
Okay. Yeah. And so, a lot of people would suggest, and I think perhaps incorrectly, that, eating this sort of diet is putting you at extreme risk for cardiovascular disease due to maybe an elevation in cholesterol, which may or may not have happened. It depends. What are your thoughts on that? And then just comparing your quality of life, is the trade-off even worse if there was a real risk there?
No, I mean, I've done quite a bit of research on cholesterol. I don't really buy into the mainstream idea behind cholesterol. And I will say one thing is I had frequent myocarditis and heart inflammation after I had my mono bouts. Since I've been carnivore, it doesn't really happen anymore. It happens just a very, very slightly every once in a while, but my heart feels better than it ever has before. And I'm not worried at all. Even if I knew, like, for a fact that eating all this cholesterol was going to make me sick, was going to make me have a shorter quality of life, I wouldn't care. Like, I would rather live to 60 and feel the way I do than live to 80 and feel horrible. It's like my quality of life is what's more important to me, just having a long life. It's my health span, not my lifespan.
Yeah, interesting. So I'll just the myocarditis, because that's quite topical today around the pandemic, and people talking about what's causing that and so on. So when you had myocarditis, how did that? What has been the prognosis? I mean, you're seeing a cardiologist. Did they say, this is no big deal, or what did they tell you about that?
When I saw a cardiologist a few times over maybe like half a year, and they basically just gave me, they gave me some, I think, colchicine and just some NSAIDs to take for it. And they basically said, oh yeah, if you ever get sick again, it might happen. That's basically all they said is, just try and avoid getting sick, because if you get sick, you might get heart pain again. It's pretty much all I was told.
And that's the symptoms you were having. You were having heart pain, chest pain, or what was it? What was it like?
Yeah, but when I went to the hospital with it, it felt like someone was actually grabbing my heart and squeezing my hearts. And I had really bad back pain. All my muscles were tense. I was getting pain down my arms. My heart would be racing. It was just very, very painful in my chest. And that's pretty much it. I pretty much had all the symptoms of a heart attack. And at first, they actually thought I was having a heart attack, but it turned out to be the myocarditis.
And how many of those flares had you had? Just a one time, or did you have several?
No. I had quite a few flares over the next couple of years. I had flares frequently. Like I went to the hospital a couple more times with it. And anytime I would ever start getting sick, I would get these flares. And like I said, since I went carnivore, these don't really happen anymore. They've happened very, very mildly occasionally, but I'm pretty much good with that. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah. So the back pain's gone. The heart pain is gone. Body composition improved. Are you still skinny fat, or is that improving as well?
No, I lost my skinny fat pretty quickly. I mean, when I started lifting weights, I started stacking on muscle pretty quickly, being carnivore, faster than I've ever done before. So I was about 210 pounds when I started, and I got way too skinny, down to about 157, which is way too low for me. And now I'm just about 180 pounds and about as lean as I was before. I've just been lifting and eating really hard for the last year. So now I have a decent amount of muscle on me. And for the first time in my life, I feel comfortable taking my shirt off, and I don't have these body image issues anymore, because I know I just look good and I feel good.
Yeah, and depression gone as well, I assume, perhaps.
Yeah. I mean, there's some transient times I've experienced it. I mean, just a year and a half ago, or over a year ago, I went through a pretty traumatic end to my marriage. And so, I mean, I wasn't doing great with that. But at the same time, just by being strict carnivore the whole time, I was actually able to get through it quite easily. I mean, I know if I wasn't carnivore, I probably wouldn't have been able to handle it. But just my mental state, I could think a lot clearer. I could kind of set goals for my future. So that really saved my life, I think, being able to, have this year of health before I had that happen to me.
Yeah, I'm sure this is an obvious question, but I mean, you certainly would be of the opinion that food does have an impact on health. And if you could talk to those physicians you met several years ago, said diet has nothing to do with this, what would you say to those guys?
I don't know. I might just take off my shirt. No, but I would tell them. I would just say, this is everything you told me that happened to me, or this is everything you said. You said, oh, you can't do anything about it. Take these medications. I'm on none of these medications, and I have no more back pain, and I have no more autoimmune issues. I have no more depression. So you want to put me on an antidepressant. You wanted to put me on all these meds, and I didn't do it. And now I'm a lot healthier because of it.